की।
Yes, the budget, Manya Vitt Mantri, to present a statement.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present a statement of the estimated receipts and expenditure of the Government of India for the year 2014-15. Madam, I rise to present the budget for the year 2014-15. The people of India have decisively voted for a change. The verdict represents the exasperation of the people with the status quo. India unhesitatingly desires to grow. Those living below the poverty line are anxious to free themselves from the curse of poverty. Those who have got an opportunity to emerge from the difficult challenges have become aspirational. They now want to be a part of the new middle class. Their next generation has a hunger to use the opportunity that society provides for them. Slow decision-making has resulted in a loss of opportunity. 2 years of sub 5% growth in the Indian economy has resulted in a challenging situation. We look forward to lower levels of inflation as compared to the days of double-digit rates of food inflation in the last 2 years. The country is in no mood to suffer unemployment, inadequate basic amenities, lack of infrastructure, and apathetic governance. The slowdown in India broadly reflects the trend in many economies. In contrast to the aftermath of the crisis of 2008-2009, when restoration of growth in advanced economies was a primary concern, the continuing slowdown being presently witnessed in many emerging economies has posed a threat to sustained global recovery. Fortunately, there are green shoots of recovery being seen in the global economy. As per the IMF, the world economy is projected to grow at 3.6% in 2014, vis-a-vis 3% in 2013, with the euro area expected to register a positive growth after a contraction witnessed in 2012 and 13. However, the performance of the US economy with the attendant implications for an unconventional monetary policy stance and global financial conditions is pivotal to the fate of the global recovery in the coming years. These are the headwinds against which the Indian economy would have to maneuver its way to attain a higher growth trajectory. As Finance Minister, I am bound to usher in a policy regime that will result in a desired macroeconomic outcome of higher growth, lower inflation, sustained level of external balance, and prudent policy stance. The budget is the most comprehensive action plan in this regard. In the first budget of the NDA government that I am presenting before the August House, my aim is to lay down a broad policy indicator of the direction in which we wish to take the economy. The steps I will announce in this budget are only the beginning of a journey towards a sustained growth of 7 to 8% or above within the next 3-4 years, with the macroeconomic stabilization, which includes lower levels of inflation, less fiscal deficit, and manageable current account deficit. Therefore, it would not be wise to expect anything that can be done or must be done in the first budget presented within 45 days of the formation of the government. While higher growth is a sine qua non, we cannot be oblivious of the fact that there is a large population of this country which is below the poverty line. It is the poor who suffer the most. We have to ensure that our anti-poverty programs are well targeted. The growing aspiration of the people will be reflected in the development strategy followed by the government led by the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and the mandate of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. Allow me to assure this Honourable House that we have taken up this challenge in the right earnest. We shall leave no stone unturned in creating a vibrant and strong India. The prevailing economic situation presents a great challenge. It calls for a conscious choice to be made by all of us. Should we allow this drift to carry on and watch helplessly? Should we allow our future to suffer because of our indecisiveness? Should we be victims of mere populism or wasteful expenditure? To me, the response and the remedy are both clear. The task before me today is very challenging because we need to revive growth, particularly in the manufacturing sector and infrastructure, to raise adequate resources for our developmental needs. On the one hand, the task is simple if we accept the principle that we cannot spend beyond our means. We need to introduce fiscal prudence that will lead to fiscal consolidation and discipline. Fiscal prudence to me is of paramount importance because of considerations of intergenerational equity. We cannot leave behind a legacy of debt for our future generations. We cannot go on spending today, which would be financed by taxation on a future date. There is an urgent need to generate more resources to fuel the economy. For this, the tax GDP ratio must be improved and the non-tax revenues increased. We must remember that the decline of fiscal deficit from 5.7% of the GDP in 2011-12 to 4.8% in 2012-13 and 4.5% in 2013-14 was mainly achieved by a reduction in expenditure rather than by way of realization of higher revenues. Although the external sector witnessed a turnaround with the year ending with a current account deficit of 1.7% of the GDP against 4.7% in 2012-13, this was mainly achieved through restriction of non-essential imports and slowdown in the overall aggregate demand. Going forward, we must continue to be watchful of the CAD. My predecessor had set up a very difficult task of reducing the fiscal deficit to 4.1% of the GDP in the current year. Considering that we have 2 years of low GDP growth and almost static industrial growth, a moderate increase in indirect taxes, a large subsidy burden, and not so encouraging tax buoyancy, the target of 4.1% fiscal deficit is indeed daunting. Difficult as it may appear, I have decided to accept this target as a challenge. One fails only when one stops trying. My roadmap for fiscal consolidation is a fiscal deficit of 3.6% for 2015-16 and 3% for 2016-17. I am conscious of the fact that the Iraq crisis is leaving behind an impact on oil prices and the situation in the Middle East continues to be volatile. Monsoon this year appears to be more unpredictable, while inflation has remained at elevated levels relative to what it is perceived as acceptable. There is a gradual moderation in the WPI recently from a high of 7.35% in 2012-13 to 5.98 in 2013-14. But we are still not out of the woods. We must address fully the problem of black money, which is a curse on our economy. Faced with these adversities, we have no option but to undertake some bold steps in order to enhance economic activity, to spur growth in the economy. These steps are only the beginning of our effort to revive the growth spirit of the Indian economy. They are directional. Expenditure Management Commission. My government is committed to the principle of minimum government, maximum governance. To achieve this goal, time has come to revive the allocative and operational efficiencies of government expenditure to achieve the maximum output. The government will constitute an Expenditure Management Commission which will look into various aspects of expenditure reform to be undertaken by the government. The Commission will give its interim report within this financial year. I also propose to overhaul the subsidy regime, including food and petroleum subsidies, and make it more targeted and provide full protection to the marginalized, poor, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes. A new urea policy would be formulated. The debate on whether to introduce the goods and services tax must now come to an end. We have discussed the issue for the past many years. Some states have been apprehensive about surrendering their taxation jurisdiction. Others want to be adequately compensated. I have discussed the matter with the states both individually and collectively. I do hope we are able to bring a final solution in this course of this year and approve the legislative scheme which enables the introduction of the GST. This will streamline tax administration, avoid harassment of business, and result in higher tax collection, both for the centre and the states. I assure all states that government will be more than fair in dealing with them. Tax administration. The sovereign right of the government to undertake retrospective legislation is unquestionable. However, this power has to be exercised with extreme caution and judiciousness, keeping in mind the impact of each such measure on the economy and the overall investment climate. This government will not ordinarily bring any change retrospectively which creates a fresh liability. Honourable members are aware that consequent upon the retrospective amendment of Income Tax Act 1961 undertaken by the Finance Bill of 2012, a few cases have come up in various courts and other legal fora. These cases are at different stage of pendency and will naturally reach their logical conclusion. At this junction, I would like to convey to this august House and also to the investor community at large that we are committed to providing a stable and predictable taxation regime which would be investor-friendly and spur growth. Keeping this in mind, we have decided that henceforth all cases arising out of the retrospective amendments of 2012 in respect of indirect transfers and coming to the notice of assessing officers will be scrutinized by a high-level committee to be constituted by the CBDT before any action is initiated in such cases. I hope the investor community, both within India and abroad, will repose confidence on our stated position and participate in India's growth story with renewed vigour. Tax demand of more than 4 lakh crores is under dispute and litigation before various courts and appellate authorities. This is one of the serious concerns of all taxpayers in the country. In order to reduce litigation in direct taxes, I propose to make certain legislative and administrative changes. Currently, an advance ruling can be obtained about tax liability of a non-resident from authority for advance rulings. The facility is not available to resident taxpayers except public sector undertakings. I propose to enable the resident taxpayers to obtain an advance ruling in respect of their income tax liability with a defined threshold. I also propose to strengthen the authority for advance rulings by constituting additional benches. I further propose to enlarge the scope of Income Tax Settlement Commission so that taxpayers may approach the Commission for settlement of disputes. This would continue to be once in a lifetime opportunity for any taxpayer. As an administrative measure, I propose to set up a high-level committee to interact with trade and industry on a regular basis and ascertain areas where clarity in tax laws is required. Based on recommendations of this committee, the Central Board of Direct Taxes and the Central Board of Excise and Customs shall issue appropriate clarifications wherever considered necessary on tax issues within a period of 2 months. Transfer pricing is a major area of litigation for both residents and non-residents. I have proposed certain changes in the transfer pricing regulations which I would spell out in Part B of my speech. I hope these measures would go a long way in improving the confidence of taxpayers in the tax system and provide certainty and clarity in tax laws. Foreign direct investment. The policy of the NDA government is to promote foreign direct investments selectively in sectors where it helps the larger interest of the Indian economy. FDI in several sectors is an additionality of resource which helps in promoting domestic manufacturing and job creation. India today needs a boost for job creation. On manufacturing sector in particular needs a push for job creation. India today is the largest buyer of defence equipment in the world. Our domestic manufacturing capabilities are still at a nascent stage. We are buying substantial part of our defence requirements directly from foreign players, companies controlled by foreign governments, and foreign private parties are supplying our defence requirement to us at a considerable outflow of foreign exchange. Currently, we permit 26% FDI in defence manufacturing. The composite cap of foreign exchange is being raised to 49% with full management control, Indian management and control through the FIPP route. The insurance sector is investment starved. Several segments of the insurance sector need an expansion. The composite cap of the insurance sector is proposed to be increased up to 49% from the current level of 26%, with full management and control through the FIPB route. To encourage development of smart cities, which will also provide habitation for this new middle class, requirement of the built-up area of capital conditions for FDI is being reduced from 50,000 square meters to 20,000 square meters, and for $10 million to $5 respectively, with a 3-year post-completion lock-in. To further encourage these projects, which commit at least 30% of the total project costs for low-cost affordable housing, will be exempted for the minimum built-up area and capitalization requirements with conditions of 3-year lock-in. FDI in the manufacturing sector today is on an automatic route. The manufacturing units will be allowed to sell its products through retail, including e-commerce platforms, without any additional approval. Back capitalization. Financial stability is the foundation of our rapid recovery. Our banking system needs to be further strengthened. To be in line with the Basel III norms, there is a requirement to infuse 2,40,000 crores rupees as equity by 2018 in our banks. To meet this huge capital requirement, we need to raise additional resources to fill this obligation. While preserving the public ownership, the capital of these banks will be raised by increasing the shareholding of the capital in a phased manner through sale of shares largely through retail common citizens in the country. Thus, while government will continue to hold majority shareholding, the citizens of India will also get direct shareholding in these banks, which currently they hold indirectly. We will also examine the proposal to give greater autonomy to banks while making them accountable. PSU capital expenditure. To give a thrust to investment in the economy, PSUs will also play their part constructively. I am assured that PSUs will invest through capital investment a total amount of rupees 2,47,941 crores in the current financial years to create a virtuous investment cycle. Smart cities. As the fruits of development reach an increasingly large number of people, the pace of migration from rural areas to the cities is increasing. A new middle class is emerging which has aspirations of better living standards. Unless new cities are developed to accommodate the burgeoning number of people through existing cities, would become unlivable. The Prime Minister has a vision of developing 100 smart cities as satellite towns of larger cities by modernizing the existing mid-sized cities. To provide the necessary focus to this critical activity, I have provided a sum of rupees 7,060 crores in the current fiscal. E-visas. Tourism is one of the larger job creators globally. Many economies world over are supported by tourism. In order to give a major boost to tourism, the facility of electronic travel authorization, e-visas, would be introduced in a phased manner at 9 airports in India, where necessary infrastructure would be put in place within the next 6 months. The countries in which electronic travel authorization facility to which it will be extended would be identified in a phased manner. This would further the facility of visa on arrival. REITs and InvestITs. Real estate investment trusts have been successfully used as instruments for pooling investment in several countries. I intend to introduce to provide necessary incentives for REITs which will have a pass-through for the purposes of taxation. As an innovation, a modified REITs type structure for infrastructure projects is also being announced as infrastructure investment trust, which would have a similar pass-through status for PPP and other infrastructure projects. These structures would reduce the pressure on the banking system while making available fresh equity. I am confident these instruments would attract long-term finance from foreign and domestic sources, including the NRIs. Kisan Vikas Patras was a very popular instrument among small saving. I plan to introduce the instrument to encourage people who have banked and unbanked saving to invest in these instruments. Skill India. A national multi-skill program called Skill India is proposed to be launched. It would skill the youth for an emphasis of employability and entrepreneurial skills. It will also provide training and support for traditional professions like welders, carpenters, cobblers, masons, blacksmiths, weavers. Convergence of various schemes to attain this objective is also proposed. The Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Bulk of our farmlands are rain-fed and dependent on monsoons. Therefore, there is a need to provide assured irrigation to mitigate risk. To improve access to irrigation, we propose to initiate a scheme, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. I propose to set aside 1,000 crores for this purpose. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. The need for sanitation is of utmost importance. Although the central government is providing resources within its means, the task of total sanitation cannot be achieved without the support of all. The government intends to cover every household by total sanitation by the year 2019, the 150th year of the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, through the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Gujarat has demonstrated successfully the urban development model of urbanization of rural areas, through which people living in rural areas can effectively get civic infrastructure associated services. Shama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission will be launched to deliver the integrated project-based infrastructure in rural areas, which will also include the development of economic activities till development. The preferred mode of delivery would be the PPPs, while using various schemes, funds for financing. Power is a vital input for economic growth, and the government is committed to providing 24/7 uninterrupted power supply to all homes. The Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana for feeder separation will be launched to augment power supply to the rural areas and strengthening the sub-transmission and distribution systems. I propose to set aside 500 crores for this purpose. The government of Gujarat has embarked upon a mission to build the largest statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Sardar Patel stands as a symbol of unity of this country. To support the Gujarat government in this initiative to erect the Statue of Unity, I propose to set aside rupees 200 crores. Madam, I now turn to the budgetary allocations. While announcing the allocations, I want to reiterate my government's firm commitment to strengthen the federal structure of the country, our resolve to work closely with the state governments for the larger good of the people. Government is committed to the welfare of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. This year, an amount of rupees 50,548 crores is proposed under the scheduled caste plan and rupees 32,387 crore under the TSP. To provide credit enhancement facility for young startup entrepreneurs from scheduled caste who aspire to be a part of the new middle class, I propose to separately set aside rupees 200 crores, which will be operationalized through a scheme of the IFCI. For the welfare of tribals, the Van Bandhu Kalyan Yojana is being launched with an initial allocation of rupees 100 crores. Welfare of senior, please wait. Welfare of senior citizens. The NDA government during the last term in office had introduced the Varisht Pension Bima Yojana as a pension scheme for senior citizens. Under the scheme, a total number of 3.1 lakh annuitants were being benefited from the corpus amount of rupees 6,095 crores. I propose to revive the scheme for a limited period from 15th August 2014 to 14th August 2015 for the benefit of all citizens aged 60 years or above. A large number of amount of money is estimated to be lying in the unclaimed accounts of the PPF, post office, saving schemes, etc. Those are mostly out of investments belonging to the senior citizens and on their demise remain unclaimed for want of relevant payment instructions. I propose to set up a committee to examine and recommend how this amount can be used to protect the further financial interests of the senior citizens. The committee will give its report not later than December this year. Government is fully committed to the social security and the welfare employees serving in the organized sector. The government is notifying minimum pension of rupees 1,000 per month to all subscriber members of the EP scheme and has made an initial contribution of rupees 250 crores in the current financial years to meet the expenditure. Further increase in the mandatory wage ceiling of subscription of the EPS from 6,500 to 15,000 has been made. A provision of rupees 250 crores has been provided in the current budget. For the convenience of subscribers, EPFO will launch a unified account scheme service for contributing members and facility portability of the Provident Fund accounts. Empowerment of the differently abled persons. Government will make an all-out effort to create a more inclusive society for persons with disabilities to enable them to enjoy equal opportunities and to lead an empowered life with dignity. I propose to extend the assistance to the disabled persons for purchase, fittings, aids and appliances to include contemporary aids and assistive devices. It will also propose to establish a national level institute for universal inclusive design and mental health rehabilitation and also a center for disability sports. Incentives for visually challenged. The Braille press says in the government and the private sectors are not able to meet the demand of the textbooks for the visually impaired students. It is proposed to provide assistance of the state governments to establish 15 new press and modernize the 10 existing presses in the current financial year. The government will also print currency notes with Braille-like signs to assist the visibly challenged persons. Women's safety is a concern shared by all honourable members of the House. We need to test our different approaches that can be validated and scaled up quickly. An outlay of rupees 50 crores will be spent by the Ministry of Road Transport on a pilot scheme on the safety of women in public road transport. A sum of rupees 150 crore will be spent by the Ministry of Home on a scheme to increase the safety of women in larger cities. It is also proposed to provide a crisis management center in all districts of the NCT Delhi this year. In all government and private hospitals, the funding will be provided from the Nirbhaya Fund. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Yojana. It is a shame that while the country has emerged as a major player amongst the emerging economies, the apathy towards the girl child is still quite rampant in these many parts of the country. Therefore, I propose to launch the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Yojana, which will be focused scheme which will help in generating awareness and also improve the efficiency of the delivery welfare services meant for women. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores for this. Gender mainstreaming. The government would focus on campaigns to sensitize people in this country towards the concerns of the girl, child and women. The process of sensitization must begin early. Therefore, school curriculum will have a separate chapter on gender mainstreaming. The Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, initiated it during NDA-1 under the stewardship of Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, has had a massive impact in improvement of access to rural population. It is time to reaffirm our commitment to a better and more energetic PMGSY under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. I propose to provide a sum of rupees 14,389 crores for this purpose. Manrega. The government is committed to provide wage and self-employment opportunities in rural areas. However, wage employment would be provided under the Manrega through works that are more productive, asset creating, substantially linked to agriculture and allied activities. Ajivika, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, aims at eliminating rural poverty through sustainable livelihood options. Under this mission, women SCGs are provided bank loans at 4% to prompt repayment in 150 districts and 7% in other districts. I propose to extend the provisions of blank loan for women SGGs at 4% in another 100 districts. I propose to set up a startup village entrepreneurship scheme for encouraging rural youth to take up local entrepreneurship programs. I am providing a sum of rupees 100 crores for this. The amount is there, don't worry. It's maintained.
I mentioned that, that's why I'm asking.
The rural housing scheme has benefited a large percentage of rural population who have availed credit through rural housing programs. I propose to increase the allocation for 2014-15 to 8,000 crores for National Housing Banking Program with a view to expand and continue to support rural housing in the country. To give an added impetus to the watershed program in the country, I propose to start a new program called the Nirlanchal with an initial outlay of rupees 2,142 crores in the current financial year. Backward Region Grant Fund is being implemented in 272 backward districts in 27 states to fill the critical gap in the development of basic infrastructure facilities for capacity building of panchayats, gram sabhas in the backward areas. It is proposed to restructure the BRGF to address inter-district inequalities to ensure the backward sub-district units within the state get adequate support. Many of our drinking water resources have excess impurities like fluoride, arsenic, and man-made contaminations due to untreated sewerage, industrial effluents, and leaching of pesticides and fertilizers. It is proposed to earmark rupees 3,600 crores under National Rural Drinking Water Program for providing a safe drinking water, approximately 20,000 habitations affected with arsenic, fluoride, heavy toxic elements, pesticides, fertilizers through community water purification plants in the next 3 years. To move towards health for all, two key initiatives, that is the free drug service and free diagnostic service, would be taken up on a priority. In order to achieve a universal access to each quality diagnosis and treatment to TB patients, 2 National Institutes of Aging will be set up at the AIIMS, New Delhi and Madras Medical College, Chennai. A national level research with referral institute for higher dental studies would also be set up in one of the existing dental institutions. It is a matter of great satisfaction that all the 6 new AIIMS at Jodhpur, Bhopal, Patna, Rishikesh, Bhubaneswar and Raipur, which were a part of the Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana, have become functional. A plan to set up 4 more AIIMS institutions in Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Vidarbha in Maharashtra and Purvanchal is under consideration. I propose to set up rupees 500 crore for this. Presently, please wait for the next sentence. आगे आ रहा है.
Please.
Presently,
Please, पूरा सुनिए.
Presently, please wait for the next sentence. Government medical colleges have been approved. It is proposed to add 12 more government medical colleges. In addition, dental facilities will also be provided in these hospitals. All other states which are making a request will be considered under this. For the first time, and let me add that in the coming years of the government, each year in the states where there is no AIIMS, we'll be adding it to make sure that there is an AIIMS created in every state in the country. For the first time, the central government will provide central assistance to strengthen the state drug regulatory and food regulatory systems by creating new drug testing laboratories and strengthening 31 existing laboratories. In keeping with the government's focus on improving affordable healthcare and to augment transfer of technology for better healthcare facilities in rural India, 15 model rural health research centers will be set up which will take up the research on local health issues concerning rural population. Elementary education is one of the major priorities of the government. There would be a residual gap in providing minimal school infrastructure facilities. Government would strive to provide toilets and drinking waters in all the girls' schools in the first place. An amount of rupees 28,635 crore is being funded by the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and 4,966 crores by the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. A school assessment program is being initiated at a cost of rupees 30 crores. To infuse the training tools and innovative teachers, the Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya New Teachers Training Program is being launched. I am setting aside a sum of rupees 500 crores for this. To take advantage of the reach of the IT, I propose to allocate a sum of rupees 100 crores for setting up a virtuous classroom as communication-linked interface for cultivating knowledge on the online courses. The country needs a large number of courses of higher learning, which are of the world class. I propose to set up the Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan National Center for Excellence in Humanities in Madhya Pradesh. I also intend to set up 5 more IITs in Jammu, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Andhra Pradesh and Kerala. 5 more IIMs would be set up in the state of Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Bihar, Orissa and Maharashtra. I propose to set up an amount of rupees 500 crores for this. Government also proposes to ease and simplify norms and facilitate education of loans for higher education. There have been eminent need to further bridge and divide the human-digital divide between the haves and the have-nots. For this, it is proposed to launch a pan-India program, Digital India. This would ensure broadband connectivity at village level, improved access to services through IT-enabled programs, greater transparency in government processes, and increased indigenous production of the IT hardware and software of exports and improved domestic availability. Special focus will be on supporting software product startups, a national rural internet and technology mission service in villages and trainings in IT and e-Kranti for the government services delivery and governance scheme is also proposed. I have provided a sum of rupees 500 crores for this purpose. A program for promoting good governance would be launched. I propose to set up a sum of rupees 100 crores for this purpose. So far, around 400 permissions for setting up community radio stations have been issued. To encourage the growth of this sector, a new plan is being taken up with an allocation of rupees 100 crores. The scheme would support 600 new and existing community radio stations. The Film and Television Institute Pune, the Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute Calcutta are proposed to be accorded the status of institutes of national importance and national centers of excellence in animation, gaming, special efforts will be set up. Urban renewal. It is time that our cities and towns undergo urban renewal and become better places to live in. While developing housing and other infrastructure, both physical and economic, which can have various local variations, 4 fundamental activities must underpin such development. There are provision for safe drinking water and sewerage management, use of recycled water for growing organic fruits and vegetables, solid waste management and digital connectivity. It will be the vision of the government that at least 500 such habitants must be provided support while harnessing private capital and expertise through PPPs to renew their infrastructure services in the next 10 years. Pooled municipal debt obligations. This facility was set up in 2006 with participation of several banks to promote finance infrastructure projects in urban areas on the shared risk basis. Present corpus of this facility is rupees 5,000 crore. The government has a major focus of providing good infrastructure, including public transport, waste disposal, sewage treatment, and safe drinking water in urban areas. In keeping with the Honorable Prime Minister's vision of urban areas, it is proposed to enlarge 50,000 crores with extension of facility by 5 years to March 31, 2019. urban metro projects have proved to be very useful in decongesting large cities. For 2 million plus cities, planning of the metro phase must begin now. Government will encourage development of metro rail system, including the light rail system in the PPP mode, which will be supported by the central government through the VGF. In the current financial year, I propose to set aside a scheme of rupees 100 crores for the metro projects of Lucknow and Ahmedabad. The government is committed to an endeavor to have housing for all by 2022. For this purpose, I intend to extend the additional tax incentive on housing loans to encourage people, especially the young, to own their houses. I proposed of setting up a mission of low-cost affordable housing, which will be anchored by the National Housing Bank schemes, which will be involved to incentivize the development of low-cost affordable housing. I propose to allocate this a sum of rupees 4,000 crores for the National Housing Bank in view to increase the flow of cheaper credit and affordable housing for the urban poor, economically weaker section, LIG segment. I have already outlined some other incentives, such as easier flow of FDI in this sector. Government is willing to examine other suggestions which would spurt growth in this sector. I also propose to add an inclusion of a slum development in the list of corporate social responsibility activities to encourage private sector to contribute more towards this activity. A national program in the mission mode is urgently required to halt the deteriorating malnutrition situation in the country. At present, interventions are not adequate. A comprehensive strategy, including detailed methodology, costing, timelines, and monitoring targets will be in place within 6 months. Minorities. A program for the upgradation of skills and training in the ancestral arts for development of minorities, called the upgrading of traditional arts and resource goods, would be launched to preserve the traditional arts crafts with a rich heritage. An additional amount of rupees 100 crores for modernization of madrasas has been provided in the Department of School Education. Farming is an activity which contributes to nearly 1/6 of our national GDP, and a major portion of a population is dependent on its livelihood. It has risen to the challenge of making India largely self-sufficient in providing food for a growing population. To make farming competitive and profitable, there is an urgent need to set up investment, both public and private, in agro-technology and development and creation of modernization and easing of agricultural business infrastructure. And Agricultural Research Institute, Pune, has been in the forefront of research in this area. However, since independence, only one of the such centers has been established. Government will establish 2 more such institutions of excellence of similar pattern in Assam and Jharkhand with an initial sum of rupees 100 crores in the current financial years. In addition, an amount of rupees 100 crores is being set aside for setting up an agri-infrastructure fund. It is also proposed to establish agricultural university in Andhra Pradesh and Rajasthan and horticulture university in Telangana and Haryana. An initial amount of 200 crore has been allocated for this purpose.
नहीं वो अच्छा नहीं वालों को मिला परिवार है नहीं
आप बोलो टीचर just can we have a Madam Speaker, can we have a 5-minute break? 5 मिनट के लिए 5 मिनट, then I'll continue to read.
Just take a break.
just 5 minutes break. Please. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. 5 minutes? Yes. The house stands adjourned to meet again at 11:50 for 5 minutes only. 11:50, 5 minutes. We want some break, no? It's okay. No, it's okay. 5 minutes break we have. 5 minutes break. 5 minutes break we have.
सभासदों, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी,
माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी की थोड़ी सी तबीयत ठीक नहीं, बैठ के बोलने के लिए मैं उन्हें अनुमति देती हूँ।
Madam, I am extremely grateful to you and the honourable members for bearing with a little cramp on my shoulder. Soil deterioration has been the cause of concern and leads to suboptimal utilization of farming resources. Government will initiate a scheme to provide to every farmer a soil health card at a mission mode. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crore for this purpose and an additional 56 crores to set up 100 mobile soil testing laboratories across the country. There has been a growing concern about the imbalance in the utilization of different types of fertilizers, resulting in the deterioration of the soil. Climate change is a reality which all of us have to face together. Agriculture as an activity is most prone to the vagaries of climate change. To meet this challenge, I propose to establish a national adaptation fund for climate change. As an initial sum of rupees 100 crores will be transferred to the fund. We are committed to sustaining a growth of 4% in agriculture, and for this we will bring technology-driven second green revolution with focus on higher productivity and include a protein revolution in an area of major focus. As a large number of landless farmers are unable to provide land title as guarantee, institutional finance is denied to them and they become vulnerable to money lenders. Usurious lending. I propose to provide finance to 5 lakh joint farming groups of Bhumihin Kisan through NABARD in the current financial year. Price volatility in agriculture produces and creates certain uncertainties and hardships to the farmers. To mitigate this, I am providing a sum of rupees 500 crores for establishing a price stabilization fund. The farmers' and consumers' interests will be further served by increasing competition and integrating markets across the country. To accelerate the setting up of a national market, the central government will work closely with the state governments to reorient their respective APMCs to provide the establishment of a private markets. The state government will also be encouraged to develop farmers markets in townships to enable the farmers to sell their products directly. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 50 crores for development of indigenous cattle breeding and an equal opportunity of starting a blue revolution in inland fisheries. Banks are providing strong credit support to agricultural sector. A target of 8 lakh crores has been set aside for agriculture credit during 2014-15, for which I am confident that banks will surpass. Under the interest subvention scheme for short-term crop loans, banks are extending loans to farmers at a concessional rate of 7%. The farmers will get a further incentive of 3% for timely repayment. I propose to continue the scheme for 2014-15. NABARD operates the Rural Infrastructure Development Fund out of a priority sector lending shortfall of banks, which helps in creation of infrastructure in agriculture and rural sectors across the country. I propose to raise the corpus of RIDF by an additional 5,000 crores from the target given in the interim budget of 25,000 crores in the current financial year. Increasing warehousing capacity for increasing the shelf life of agriculture produces and thereby earning capacity of the farmers is utmost importance. Keeping in view the urgent need of availability of scientific warehousing infrastructure in the country, I propose an allocation of rupees 5,000 crores for the fund for the year 2014-15. The share of long-term investment credit in agriculture is going down as compared to short-term crop loan. This is severely hampering the asset creation in agriculture and allied activities. In order to give a boost to long-term investment credit in agriculture, I propose to set up a long-term rural credit fund in NABARD for the purposes of providing
refinance support to cooperative banks and regional rural banks with an initial corpus of 5,000 crores. The short-term cooperative rural credit refinance fund was introduced in the union budget of 2008 and 9 with initial corpus of 5,000 crores. In order to ensure increased and uninterrupted credit flow to farmers and to avoid a high cost of market borrowings by NABARD, I propose to allocate an amount of rupees 5,000 crores for the STRC fund during 2014-15. The issue of profitability of small holdings based agriculture has assumed importance in view of increasing proportion of small and marginal farmers in the country. I propose to supplement NABARD's Producers Organization Development Fund for Producers Development and Upliftment called Produce with a sum of rupees 200 crores, which will be utilized for building 2,000 producers organizations across the country over the next 2 years. Government is committed to reform in the food sector. Restructuring FCI, reducing transportation and distribution losses, and efficacy of PDS would be taken up on priority. Government is also committed to provide wheat and rice at a reasonable price to the weaker sections in the society. Even if due to inadequate rainfall there is a marginal decline in agricultural production, stocks in the central pool are adequate to meet the exigency. Government shall, when required, undertake open market sales to keep prices under control. Kisan Television, dedicated to the interest of agriculture and allied sectors, will be launched in the current year. This will disseminate real-time information to the farmers, information regarding new farming techniques, water conservation, organic framing. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores for this purpose. The e-biz industry, the e-biz platform aids to create a business and investor-friendly ecosystem in India by making all businesses and investments related to clearance and compliances available to 24/7 single portal with an integrated payment gateway. All central government departments and ministries will integrate their services with the e-biz platform on priority by 31st December this year. A national industrial corridor with its headquarters at Pune is being set up to coordinate the deployment of the industrial corridors with smart cities linked to the transport connectivity, which will be the cornerstone of the strategy to drive India's growth in manufacturing and urbanization. I have provided an initial corpus of rupees 100 crores for this purpose. The Amritsar-Kolkata industrial master planning will be completed expeditiously for establishment of an industrial smart cities in 7 states of India. The master planning of these 3 smart cities is the Chennai-Bengaluru industrial corridor region, the Pune in Tamil Nadu, Krishnapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Tumkur in Karnataka will also be completed. The prospective plan for the Bengaluru-Mumbai economic corridor and the Vizag-Chennai corridor would be completed with the provision of 20 new industrial clusters. Kakinada, its adjoining area, and the port will be developed as key drivers of economic growth in the region with special focus on hardware manufacturing. Exports cannot be exponentially increased unless states play a very active role in export promotion by providing good infrastructure and full facilitation. It will be our endeavour to engage the states to take India's export to a higher growth trajectory. It is proposed to establish an export promotion mission to bring all stakeholders under one umbrella. The government is committed to revive the special economic zones and make them effective instruments of industrial production, economic growth, export promotion and employment generation. For achieving this, effective steps would be undertaken to operationalize the special economic zones, to revive the investors' interest, to develop better infrastructure, to effectively and efficiently use the available unutilized land. Comparing the size of Indian economy, the performance of the apprenticeship training scheme is not satisfactory and a large number of training facilities in industry are unutilized. Apprenticeship Act will be suitably amended to make it more responsive to the industry and youth. It will also encourage the MSMEs to avail of the benefits under the scheme. The SMEs form the backbone of our economy. They account for a large portion of our industrial output and employment. The bulk of service sector enterprises are also SMEs. Most of our SMEs own account enterprises. Most importantly, a majority of these enterprises are owned and run by SCs, STs and OBCs. Financing of this sector is of critical importance, particularly as it benefits the weakest section. There is a need to examine the financial architecture for this sector. I propose to appoint a committee with representatives from the Finance Ministry, Ministry of MSME, RBI to give concrete suggestions in 3 months. Promotion of entrepreneurship and startup companies remains a challenge. While there has been some effort to encourage, one of the principal limitations has been of startup capital by way of equity to be brought in by promoters. In order to create a conducive ecosystem for a venture capital in the MSME sector, it is proposed to establish a rupees 10,000 crore fund to act as a catalyst to attract private capital by way of providing equity, quasi-equity, soft loan and other risk capitals for startup companies. To establish center network to promote innovation, entrepreneurship and agro industries, I propose to set up a fund with a corpus of 200 crores. The definition of MSME will be revived to provide for a higher capital ceiling. A program to facilitate forward and backward linkages with multiple value chains manufacturing and service delivery will also be put in place. Entrepreneurship-friendly legal bankruptcy framework will also be developed for SMEs to enable easy exit. A nationwide district-level incubation and accelerator program would be taken up for an incubation and new ideas and providing necessary support for accelerating entrepreneurship. I propose to set up Trade Facilitation Center and a craft center with a museum with an outlay of 50 crores to develop and promote handloom products and carry out the rich tradition of handlooms of Varanasi, where I intend to support textile mega clusters. I also propose to set up 6 more textiles clusters in Bareilly, Lucknow, Surat, Kutch, Bhagalpur, Mysore and in Tamil Nadu. I am allocating a sum of rupees 200 crores for this purpose. I also propose I also propose to set up a Hastakala Academy for preservation, revival and documentation of the handloom handicraft sector in the PPP mode in Delhi. I have set aside a sum of rupees 30 crores for this purpose. I propose to set up a Pashmina production program P3 and a program for development of other crafts in Jammu and Kashmir. I have set aside a sum of rupees 50 crores for this purpose. India has emerged the largest PPP market in the world with over 900 projects at various stages of infrastructure development. PPCs have delivered some iconic infrastructures like airports, ports, highways, which are seen as models for development globally. But we have also seen the weakness of the PPP framework and the rigidities of the contractual arrangements, the need to develop more nuanced and sophisticated models for contracting and quick dispute redressal mechanism. An institution to provide support for mainstreaming PPCs called the 3P India will be set up with a corpus of 500 crores. Shipping. A policy for encouraging the growth of Indian-controlled tonnage will be formulated to ensure increase in employment of Indian seafarers. Development of ports is also critical to boosting trade. 16 new port projects are proposed to be awarded this year, and a focus on port connectivity, rupees 11,635 crores, will be allocated for the development of the outer harbour projects in Tuticorin for phase 1. SEZs will also be developed in Kandla and JNPT. A comprehensive policy will also be announced to promote Indian shipbuilding industry in current financial year. Navigation, inland navigation. Development of inland waterways can improve
Nothing will go on record. Nothing will go on record. Only with the money.
बैठो बैठो फिर बाहर जाके हाउस के अंदर भी और बाहर भी शोर
Yes, yes.
Development of inland waterways can improve vastly the capacity for transportation of goods. A project of river Ganga called the Jal Marg Vikas will be developed from Allahabad to Haldia to cover a distance of 1620 kilometers, which will enable commercial navigation of at least 1500 tonnage vessels. The project will be completed in a period of 6 years at an estimated cost of rupees 4,200 crores. Airports. Despite increase in air connectivity, air travel is still out of reach of a large number of aspirational Indians. Scheme for development of new airports in Tier 1 and Tier 2 will be launched for implementation through the Airport Authority of India and the PPPs. Road sector constitutes a very important artery of communication in the country. The sector has taken shape from 1998 to 2004 under NDA government. The sector again needs huge amount of investment along with the debottlenecking of a maze of clearances. I proposed investment in the National Highway Authority of India and the state roads of an amount of rupees 37,880 crores, which will include rupees 3,000 crores for the Northeast. During the CFI, a target of national highway construction of 8,500 crores will be achieved. A modern nation needs multiple sources of transportation. A country of India's size must have a transport network which can ensure faster travel across the cities which are geographically distant. This will also improve the supply chain in transporting goods across cities. We will initiate work on selective expressways in parallel to the development of industrial corridor. A project preparation of NHAI shall be set aside. For project preparation, NHAI will be set aside a further sum of rupees 500 crores. Power. To promote cleaner and more efficient thermal power, I propose to allocate a sum of rupees 100 crores for preparatory work of the new scheme called the ultra-modern supercritical coal-based thermal power technology. Comprehensive measures for enhancing domestic coal production are being put in place along with stringent mechanism for quality control and environmental protection, which includes supply of crushed coal and setting up of washeries. The existing impasse of coal sector will be resolved with the adequate quantity of coal will be provided in the power plants which are already commissioned and would be commissioned by March 2015 to unlock dead investments. And exercise to rationalize coal linkages which will optimize transport of coal and reduce power costs is underway. New and renewable energy deserves a very high priority. It is proposed to take up ultra-modern solar power projects in Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu and in Ladakh in J&K. I have set aside a sum of rupees 500 crores for this purpose. We are launching a scheme for solar power driven agricultural pumps and water pumping stations for energizing 1 lakh pumps. I propose to allocate a sum of rupees 400 crores for this purpose. An additional amount of 100 crores is set aside for the development of 1 MY solar parks on the banks of canals. Implementation of green energy corridor projects will be accelerated in this financial year to facilitate evacuation of renewable energy across the country. Petroleum and natural gas. It is my government's intention to accelerate production and exploration of coal bed methane reserves. The possibility of using modern technology to revive old and closed wells still will be explored to maximize production from such fields. The usage of PNG will be rapidly called up in the mission mode as it is clean and efficient to deliver. We have to present 15,000 kilometers of, we have at present 15,000 kilometers of gas pipeline systems in the country. In order to complete the gas grid across the country, an additional 15,000 kilometers of pipelines are required. It is proposed to develop these pipelines under appropriate PPP models. This will help in increasing the usage of gas, domestic as also imported, which in the long term will be beneficial in reducing dependence on any one energy source. Mining. It is my government's intention to encourage investment in the mining sector and promote sustainable mining practices to adequately meet the requirements of industry without sacrificing environmental concerns. The current impasse in the mining sector, including iron ore mining, will be resolved expeditiously. Changes, if necessary, in the MMRD Act would be introduced to facilitate this. There has been a request from several state governments to revise the rate of royalty on minerals. Honourable members are aware that royalty can be revised after a period of 3 years. Last revision took place in August 2009. Therefore, another revision which is due will be undertaken to ensure greater revenue to the state governments. Financial sector, capital market. Financial sector is at the heart of the growth engine. Globalization helps channelize external savings to India to bridge the resource gap, but also renders the financial sector vulnerable to vagaries of the global economy. We have seen in the recent past, in ample measure, it is essential to strengthen and modernize the legislative regulatory framework. There are some important recommendations of the Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission, like enactment of the Indian Financial Code, which is considered necessary for better governance and accountability. It is my endeavour to complete the ongoing process of consultation with all stakeholders expeditiously on this. It is also essential to have a modern monetary policy framework to meet the challenges of an increasingly complex economy. Government will, in close consultations with the RBI, put in place such a framework. While the impact of above measures will be felt in medium term, towards the same object I propose, advise financial sector regulators to take early steps for vibrant, deep and liquid corporate bond market and deepen the currency derivatives market by eliminating unnecessary restrictions. Extend a liberalized facility of 5% withholding tax to all bonds issued by Indian corporates abroad for all sectors and extend this validity of the scheme to 30th June 2017. Liberalize the ADR-GDR regime to allow issuance of depository receipts on all permissible security. Allow international settlement of Indian debt securities. Completely revamp the Indian depository receipts and introduce a much more liberal, ambitious Bharat depository receipt. Clarify the tax treatment on income of foreign funds whose fund managers are located in India to resolve a long-standing problem. Details will be presented in Part B. The Indian capital market has been a source of risk capital for growing India. I propose to take a number of measures to further energize these markets, including introduction of uniform KYC norms for interusability of the KYC records across the entire financial sector. introduce one single operating demat account so that Indian financial sector consumers can access, transact all financial assets through this one account. At all the strengthening the regulatory framework of the commodity markets, the Warehouse Development and Regulatory Authority has been transforming plan to invigorate the warehousing sector and significantly improve the post-harvesting lending to the farmers against negotiable warehousing receipts. This plan will be implemented with vigor. There is an urgent need to converge the current Indian accounting standards with international financing standards. I propose for the adoption of the new Indian accounting standards by Indian companies from financial year 2015-16 voluntarily and from the year 2016-17 on a mandatory basis. Based on international consensus, the regulators will separately notify the date of implementation of the accounting standards for banks, insurance companies. Standards for computation of tax would be notified separately. Banking. There have been some suggestions for consolidation of public sector banks. Government in principle agrees to consider these suggestions. To provide all households in India with banking services, a time-bound program will be launched as the Financial Inclusion Mission on 15th August this year. It would particularly focus to empower the weaker section of the society, including women and marginal farmers and labourers. 2 bank accounts in each household are proposed to be opened, which will also be eligible for credit. Long-term financing of infrastructure has been a major constraint in encouraging larger private sector participation in this sector. On the other side, banks will be encouraged to extend long-term loans to infrastructure sector with flexible structuring to absorb potential adverse contingencies, sometimes known as 5/25 structure. On the liability side, banks will be permitted to raise long-term funds for lending to infrastructure sector with minimum regulatory preemption such as CRR, SLR and priority sector lending. After making suitable changes to the current framework, a structure will be put in place for continuous authorization of universal banks in private sectors. In the current financial year, RBI will create a framework for licensing small banks and other differentiated banks. Differentiated banks serving a niche interest in local banks, payment banks, etc. are contemplated to meet credit and remittance needs of small businesses, unorganized sector, lower income households, framers and migrant workforce. The rising of non-performing assets of public sector is a matter of concern for the government. 6 new debt recovery tribunals would be set up at Chandigarh, Bengaluru, Irkakulam, Dehradun, Siliguri and Hyderabad. Government will work out an effective means for revival of other stressed assets. Insurance. Benefits of insurance in India have not reached the larger section of the people, and insurance penetration and density are still very low. The government would work towards addressing this situation in a multi-pronged manner with the support of all stakeholders. This would include suitable incentives using banking correspondents, strengthening micro offices opened by public sector insurances. It is also proposed to take up the pending Insurance Law Amendment Bill for consideration of Parliament. As a part of the legislative initiatives under the financial sector reforms, it is proposed to bridge the regulatory gap under the Price Chit Fund Money Circulation Act, 1978. This step is expected to facilitate effective regulation of companies and entities which have been duped by a large number of poor, and vulnerable people of this country. To address the concerns of decline in savings rate and improving returns to small savers, I propose to revitalize small saving schemes. My government attaches utmost welfare for the girl child. A special small saving instrument to cater to the requirements of educating and marriage of the girl child will be introduced. A national savings certificate will ensure benefit, with insurance cover, will be launched to provide additional benefits for small savers. In the PPF scheme, The annual ceiling will be enhanced to 1.5 lakhs per annum from 1 lakh at present. There is no compromise with the defence of our country. I therefore propose to allocate a sum of rupees 2,29,000 crores in the current financial year for defence. We reaffirm our commitment to our brave soldiers. A policy of one rank, one pension has been adopted by the government to address the pension disparities. We propose to set up a further sum of rupees 1,000 crores to meet this year's requirements. Modernization of armed forces is critical to enable them to play their role effectively in the defence of India's strategic interests. I therefore propose to increase the capital outlay of defence by rupees 5,000 crores over and above the amount provided in the interim budget. This includes a sum of rupees 1,000 crores for accelerating the development of the railway system in the border areas. Urgent steps will also be taken to streamline the procurement process to make it speedy and more efficient. War Memorial. The country is deeply indebted to officers and jawans of the armed forces for having made huge sacrifices to defend its honor. In doing so, a very large number of them gave up their lives. It is a privilege for the nation to erect a befitting war memorial in their memory. I am happy to announce that a war memorial will be constructed at the Prince's Park. It will also be supplemented by a war museum. I am allocating a sum of rupees 100 crores for this purpose. In the year 2011, a separate fund was announced to provide necessary resources to public-private sector companies, including SMEs, as well as academic and scientific institutions to support research and development of the defence system and enhance cutting-edge technologies capability of the country. However, beyond the announcement, no action was taken. I therefore propose to set up an initial sum of rupees 100 crores to set up a technology development fund to support this object. The scheme for modernization of the state police forces would be reviewed. I propose to enhance the allocation for a sum of rupees 1847 in the budget estimates of last year to rupees 3,000 in the current financial year. I am also allocating adequate funds for carrying out small but much needed development activities of this additional central assistance for left-wing extremist affected areas. In order to strengthen and modernize border infrastructure, a sum of rupees 2,250 crore has been set aside. In addition, a sum of rupees 990 crores has been allocated for socio-economic development of the villages along the border. A sum of rupees 150 has been earmarked for the construction of the marine police stations, jetties, and for purchase of boats. The nation is equally indebted to the officers and the jawans of the police forces, including the central armed police forces, who are constantly engaged with the enemy within and in the process of sacrificing their lives in the line of duty. I announce the construction of a befitting National Police Memorial. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 50 crores for this purpose in the current year. India's rich cultural, historical, religious and natural heritage provides a huge potential for development of tourism and job creation as an industry. I propose to create 5 tourist circuits around the specific themes and set aside rupees 500 crores for this purpose. The National Mission on Pilgrimage, Rejuvenation and Spiritual Augmentation Drive will be launched this year. A sum of rupees 100 crores is being earmarked for this purpose. National Heritage Development and Augmentation Yojana will be launched for conserving and preserving the heritage character of these cities. To begin with, I propose to launch this program in the cities such as Mathura, Amritsar, Gaya, Kanchipuram, Vilakanani and Ajmer. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 200 crores for this purpose. The project will, through a partnership of the government, academic institutions and local community, combine offer affordable technologies. Archaeological sites preservation requires urgent attention, lest our ancient heritage is lost to all future generations. For this, I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores. Samarth Gaya Varanasi Buddhist Circus would also be developed with a world-class tourism amenities to attract tourists from all over the world. Goa has emerged as a major international convention center. It has also been declared a permanent venue of the International Film Festival of India. There is a urgent need to develop a world-class convention facilities. This can at best be done in close collaboration with private sector. Government of India will fully support the initiative to develop the facilities of the PPP mode through the VGF scheme. Water resources and the cleaning of the Ganga. Rivers are the lifeline of our country. They provide water not only for producing food and multitudes but also drinking water. Unfortunately, the country is not uniformly blessed with perennial rivers. Therefore, an effort to link rivers can give rich dividends to the country. It is time that we make serious effort to move in this direction. To expedite the preparation of a detailed project report, I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores. For a detailed study, for a report, substantial amount of money has been spent.
What is happening?
100 crore rupees for a report.
Some limit.
Substantial amount of money has been spent in conservation and the improvement of the Ganga, which has very sacred place in the collective consciousness of this country. However, the efforts have not yielded the desired results because of lack of concerted effort by all stakeholders. I propose to set up an integrated Ganga conservation mission called the Namami Ganga and set aside a sum of rupees 2,037 crores for this purpose. Our riverfronts and ghats, our riverfronts and ghats are not only places of rich historical heritage, but many of these are also sacred. To start this process in the country, I propose to set aside rupees 100 crore for ghat development and beautification of the riverfronts in Kedarnath, Haridwar, Kanpur, Varanasi, Allahabad, Patna and Delhi in the current financial year. NRIs have been an important contributor to the development process of India in areas such as education, health and preservation of culture. In this context, to harness their enthusiasm to contribute towards conservation of the river Ganga, NRI fund for Ganga will be set up, which will finance the special projects. Science and technology. The Department of Science and Technology has some of country's leading research centers in areas such as nanotechnology, material science and biomedical device technologies. The government will strengthen at least 5 such institutions as technical research centers to make them more effective in innovative spaces through public-private partnership. The development of the biotech clusters in Faridabad and in Bengaluru will be scaled up and taken to high international quality. The efforts will include global partnership in accessing model organisms, resources for disease biology, stem cell biology, and for high-end electron microscopy. The nascent agri-biotech cluster in Mohali will be scaled up to include plant generic and plantotype platforms. Secondary agriculture will be a major thrust in Mohali through collaboration with the public-private partnership. In addition, 2 new clusters in Pune and Kolkata will be established. Global partnerships will be developed under India's leadership to transform Delhi component of International Center of Generic Engineering and Biotechnology into world leader of life sciences and biotechnology. Several major space missions are planned for 2014-15, which include the experimental flight of India's future high-capacity launcher GSLV Mk3, one commercial launch of PSLY, and two more navigational satellites. Our Mars orbiter spacecraft is in its 300-day-long voyage to planet Mars, along with the designated heliocentric trajectory. Mars orbiter spacecraft is expected to be orbiting around Mars on September 24, 2014. Sports are an integral part of the growing up personality development. Unfortunately, in our country, sports have not become mainstream till date. The government will set up national sports academies for major games in different parts of India to mainstream sports. Academic and international level facilities for training of accomplished athletes and for nourishing the best talent in the country at junior and sub-junior level will also be set up for shooting, archery, boxing, wrestling, weightlifting and various track and field events. Jammu and Kashmir has a lot of sporting talent which is not finding expression due to inadequate sports facilities. I propose to provide a special sum of rupees 200 crores for upgrading the indoor and outdoor stadiums to international levels, which are in both Jammu and in the Kashmir Valley. I propose to set up a sports university in Manipur. Manipur has done exceptionally well in sports. For this, I am providing a sum of rupees 100 crores in the current financial year. Unique sports traditions have developed in the Himalayan region in the countries and the states that are a part of it. To promote this, India will start an annual event to promote these games and would invite countries like Nepal and Bhutan also to participate, in addition to Indian states like Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim and the northeastern states. I am also setting aside a sum of rupees 100 crores for the training of our sports women and men for the forthcoming Asian and Commonwealth Games. Employment exchanges will transform into career centers and in addition for providing information about job availability. Those centers will also extend counseling facilities to the youth for selecting jobs best suited for their ability and aptitude. I have set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores for this purpose. Youth of India are pragmatic and looking forward and wish to be leaders in all other fields. In order to promote leadership skills, I propose to set up a Young Leaders program with an initial allocation of rupees 100 crores. Displaced Kashmiri migrants. Displaced Kashmiri migrants require our special support for rehabilitation. For this, I intend to provide a sum of rupees 500 crores in the current financial year. There is a need to increase the capacity in the country for Himalayan studies. I propose to set up a national center for Himalayan studies in Uttarakhand with an initial outlay of rupees 100 crores. It is also proposed to set up a National Academy for Customs and Excise at Hindupur in Andhra Pradesh. Northeastern region has tremendous potential for development of organic farming, which is a growing global demand for organic food. People living in northeastern states can reap the harvest for development of commercial organic farming. To this facility, I propose to provide a sum of rupees 100 crores for this purpose in the present financial year. Northeastern region has suffered from underdevelopment with a sense of isolation due to lack of proper connectivity. Development of rail systems is urgently required to bridge this gap. I intend to expedite the development of rail connectivity in the region, and for this purpose, I have set aside an additional sum of rupees 1,000 crores over and above what is provided in the interim budget. Television is an important tool of expression of our cultural identities and for creating greater awareness of the richness of the diversity of our country. To provide a strong platform to rich cultural and linguistic identity of the Northeast, a new 24/7 channel called Arun Prabha will be launched. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. My government is committed to addressing the issues relating to the development of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana in the AP Reorganization Act. Provisions have been made by various ministries and departments to fulfill all the obligations of the union government to help both the states. NCT Delhi faces a large in-migration every year. Delhi is plagued by frequent transmission-related problems and issues of water distribution and supply. In order to overcome this and make Delhi into a world-class city, I have proposed to provide rupees 200 crores for power reforms and rupees 500 crores for water reforms in Delhi. In addition, to solve the long-term water supply issues of the capital region, construction of a long-pending Renuka Dam would be undertaken with priority. I have provided an initial sum of 50 crores for this. Andaman and Nicobar Islands are a part of our rich cultural heritage. In order to tide over the communication-related problems, I propose to allocate rupees 150 crores for this purpose. I also propose to provide rupees 188 crores to Puducherry for making its commitments for disaster preparations. Budget estimates. I now turn to the budget estimates of the main budget 2014-15. We have inherited a legacy wherein continuation of financial consolidation cannot be compromised while providing for essential items. However, we have a mandate to fulfill for the people. Keeping this in mind, we have prepared the estimates of expenditure and receipts for the financial year 2014-15. Non-planned expenditure estimates for the financial year are rupees 12,19,892 crores. While preparing non-planned estimates, due care has been taken to fully provide for all the essential activities. Additional amounts have been provided for fertilizer subsidy and capital expenditure of the armed forces. While preparing estimates of capital expenditure, attention was paid to the absorptive capacity of the department and on achieving greater outcome of the financial sector outlay. In 2013-14, planned funds to the tune of rupees 4,53,085 crores could be utilized. Plan allocation of rupees 5,75,000 crores in the main budget of 2014-15 marks an increase of 26.9% over the actuals of 13-14 and has been targeted towards agriculture, capacity creation in health and education, rural roads, national highways, infrastructure and railway network expansion, clean energy initiatives, development of water resources and river conservation plans. Further, through convergence of programs, greater impact from money spent will be achieved. Total expenditure estimates thus stand at rupees 17,94,892 crores. To finance this expenditure, it is estimated that the gross tax receipts will be rupees 13,64,524 crores. After devolving the share of the states, the centre will have rupees 9,77,258 crores. Non-tax revenues in the current financial year will be rupees 2,12,505 crores, and the capital receipt other than borrowing will be rupees 73,952 crores. With the above estimates, the fiscal deficit of 4.5% of GDP and a revenue deficit will be rupees 2.9% of the GDP. Honourable members will recall that it was the initiative of the NDA government under Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee where we had made it compulsory that 10% allocation in the planned funds for the northeastern regions had been made, non-lapsable in nature. From the current budget, we have introduced a statement which will separately show the plan allocation for northeastern regions. In financial year 2014-15, an allocation of rupees 53,706 crores has been made for the northeastern region. We have further made an allocation of rupees 98,030 crores for women and 81,075 crores for child welfare. Madam Speaker, I shall now present my tax proposals. Taxation are important for every economy. To fund government expenditure on security and welfare of people, the interim budget 2014-15, my predecessors had set a tax revenue collection target of direct taxes as well as indirect taxes, which appear to be ambitious. I propose to retain these targets. It shall be my endeavour to achieve the same. The impact of tax changes now have of course been factored in the budget estimates of 2014-15. While preparing the tax proposals, I had to encounter challenge of an extremely limited fiscal space. Nonetheless, I propose to introduce measures to revive the economy, to promote investment in manufacturing sector, rationalize tax provisions so that I can reduce litigation, as also to address the problem of inverted duty structures in certain areas. I propose to give some relief to the individual taxpayers and certain sectors of the economy. Direct taxes. Let me begin with the direct taxes. Madam Speaker, I do not propose to make any changes in the tax rate. However, with a view to provide small and marginal taxpayers and relief to small and marginal taxpayers and senior citizens, I propose to increase the personal income tax exemption limit by rupees 50,000, that is from rupees 2 lakhs to rupees 2.5 lakhs, in the case of all individual taxpayers who are below the age of 60 years. Similarly, I also propose to raise the exemption limit from rupees 2.5 lakhs to rupees 3 lakhs in the case of senior citizens. I do not propose to make any change in the rate of surcharge either for corporates or individuals, HUFs or firms. The education cess for all taxpayers will continue at 3%. In the year 2012-13, the gross domestic savings were 30.1% of the GDP, as compared to 33.7% in the year 2009-10. Increase in savings and their productive use leads to higher economic growth. The households are the main contributors to the savings. Therefore, to encourage domestic investments in long-term savings, I propose to increase the investment limit under Section 80C to all income taxpayers from rupees 1 lakh to rupees 1.5 lakhs. Housing continues to be an area of concern for the middle and the lower class due to high cost of financing. Therefore, to reduce the burden, I propose to increase the deduction limit on account of interest on loans in respect of self-occupied property from rupees 1.5 lakh to rupees 2 lakhs. Infrastructure and construction sectors have a significant role in the economy. Growth in these sectors is necessary to revive the economy and generate jobs for millions of our young boys and girls. As stated earlier, with a view to attract large-scale investment in these sectors, I have provided a conducive tax regime for infrastructure investment trusts and real estate investment trusts to be set up in accordance with the regulations of the Securities and Exchange Board of India. The manufacturing sector is of paramount importance to our economy. This sector has a multiplier effect on creation of jobs. Last year, an incentive in form of investment allowance to manufacturing companies which invest more than 100 crores in plant and machinery during the year 1st April 2013 to 31st March 2015 was announced. Considering the need to incentivize smaller entrepreneurs, I propose to provide an investment allowance at the rate of 15% to a manufacturing company which invests more than 25 crores in any year in plant development. This benefit will be available for 3 years, that is investment up to 31/3/2017. The scheme announced last year will continue to operate in parallel till 31/3/2015. I also propose to extend the investment-linked deduction to 2 sectors, namely slurry pipes for transportation of iron ore and semiconductor wafer fabrication manufacturing units. This will boost investment in these 2 sectors. Supply of power continues to be a major area of concern for the country. Therefore, instead of the annual extensions, I propose to extend the 10-year tax holiday to undertakings which begin generation, distribution and transmission of power by 31/3/2017. The stability of our policy will help investors to plan their investments better. Foreign portfolio investors who have invested more than 8 lakh crores, that is about $130 billion in India, one of their concern is uncertainty of taxation on account of characterization of their income. Moreover, the fund managers of these foreign investors remain outside India under the apprehension of their presence in India may have adverse tax consequences. With a view to put an end to this uncertainty and to encourage these fund managers to shift to India, I propose to provide that income arising out of portfolio investors with transactions in securities will be treated as capital gains. The concessional rate of tax of 15% on dividend received by Indian companies from foreign subsidies has resulted in enhanced repatriation of funds from abroad. I propose to continue the concessional rate of 15% foreign dividends without any sunset date. This will ensure stability of taxation policy. In order to augment long-term foreign borrowings for Indian companies, I propose to extend the eligible dates of borrowings in foreign currency from 31/6/2016 to 30th June 2017. From 30th June 16 to 17 for a concessional rate of 5% on interest payments. I also propose to extend this tax incentive to all types of bonds instead of only infrastructure bonds. I hope this measure will enable the companies to step up their investments in India. In order to reduce litigation on transfer pricing issues, I propose to make certain changes in transfer pricing regulations. An advanced pricing agreement scheme was introduced in the year 2012. It has received a good response. I propose to strengthen the tax administration set up by the APA to expedite the disposal of applications. Further, I propose to introduce a rollback provision of the APA scheme so that the APA entered into for a future transaction may also be applied to international transactions undertaken in the previous 4 years to specified circumstances. In order to align transfer pricing regulations in India with the best available practices, I propose to introduce range concept for determination of arm's length price. However, the arithmetic mean concept will continue to apply where the number comparable is inadequate. The relevant data under analysis and appropriate rules will be prescribed. As per the existing provisions of the transfer pricing regulations, only 1 year data is allowed to be used for comparable analysis with some exception. I propose to amend this regulation to allow use of multiple year data. Necessary legislative amendments to give effect to the above proposals, including those relating to Authority for Advance Routing, Income Tax Settlement Commission, will be moved in the current session of Parliament. In the case of mutual funds, other equities-oriented funds, the capital gains arising out of transfer of units held for more than a year is taxed at a concessional rate of 10%, whereas direct investments in banks and other debt instruments attract a higher rate of tax. This allows tax arbitrage opportunities. This arbitrage has hardly benefited retail investors as their percentage is very small amongst the mutual fund investors. With a view to remove this tax arbitrage, I propose to increase the rate of tax for long-term capital gains for 10% to 20% on transfer of units of such funds. I propose to increase the period of holding in respect of such units from 12 months to 36 months for this purpose. In the year 2003, a tax liability on income by way of dividend was shifted from the shareholder to the company. The shareholder was required to pay tax on gross dividends, but now the company pays tax on dividend amount net of taxes. Similarly, in the case of mutual fund, income distribution tax is paid on the income distributed net of taxes. I propose to remove this anomaly both in the case of the company and the mutual fund. Currently, where the assessee fails to deposit, deduct and pay tax on specified payments to residents, 100% of such payments are not allowed as deduction while computing these income. This has caused undue hardship to taxpayers, particularly where the rate of tax is only 1 to 10%. I propose to provide that instead of 100%, only 30% of such payments will be disallowed. The Direct Tax Code 2010 has lapsed with the dissolution of the 15th Lok Sabha. Having considered the report of the Standing Committee and the views expressed by the stakeholders, my predecessor had placed a revised code in public domain in 2014. The government shall consider all comments received from stakeholders on the revised code. The government will also review the DTC in its present take and take a view in the whole matter. Income Tax Department is expected to function not only as an enforcement agency but also as a facilitator. A number of Aikar Seva Kendras have been opened in different parts of the country. I propose to extend this facility by opening 60 more such Seva Kendras along with the current financial year to promote excellence in service delivery. The focus of any tax administration is to broaden the tax base. Our policy thrust is to adopt a non-intrusive method to achieve this object. In this direction, I propose to make a greater use of information technology techniques. The net effect of the direct tax proposals is a revenue loss of rupees 22,200 crores. Indirect taxes. I now turn to indirect taxes and shall begin with custom duties. Manufacturing sector is under a stress due to the variety of reasons. To boost the domestic manufacturing sector and also to address the issue of inverted duties, I propose to reduce the basic customs duty on fatty acid crude palm stearin RBD and other palm sterins specified industrial grade crude oils from 7.5% to nil for manufacture of soaps and oleochemicals. Crude glycerine from 12.5% to 7.5% and crude glycerine used in manufacture of soaps from 12.5% to nil. Steel grade limestone and steel grade dolomite from 5% to 2.5%. Battery waste and battery scrap from 10% to 5%. Coal tar pitch from 10% to 5%. Specified inputs for manufacture of spandex yarn from 5% to nil. In order to encourage new investment and capacity additions in chemicals and petrochemical sectors, I propose to reduce basic custom duty on reformate from 10% to 2.5%, on ethane, propane, ethylene, propylene, butadiene and orthoxylene from 5% to 2.5%, on methyl alcohol and denatured ethyl alcohol from 7.5% to 5%, and on crude naphthalene from 10% to 5%. The demand of the electronics is growing very fast. To boost domestic production and reduce our dependence on imports, I intend to take the following steps. Impose basic custom duty of 10% on specified telecommunication products that are outside the purview of the Information Technology Agreement. Exempt all inputs, components used in the manufacture of personal computers from 4% special additional duty. Impose educational cess on imported electronic products to provide parity between domestically produced goods and imported goods. Exempt 4% SAD on PVC and ribbon used for manufacture of smart cards. Cathode rays TVs are used by the weaker sections who cannot afford to buy more expensive flat panel TVs. I propose to exempt color picture tubes from basic custom duty to make cathode rays TVs cheaper. The duty concession will help to revive the manufacturing of the TVs in the SME sector and create employment opportunity. At the same time, to encourage production of LCDs, LEDs and TVs below 19 inches in India, I propose to reduce the basic custom duty on LCD, LED panels below 19 inches and 10% to nil. Further, to encourage manufacture of LCDs, LED panels, I propose to exempt them from basic custom duty specified inputs in their manufacture. The domestic stainless steel industry is presently suffering from severe underutilization of capacity. To give an impetus to stainless steel industry, I propose to increase the basic customs duty on imported flat rolled products of stainless steel from 5% to 7.5%. We need to maximize our utilization of solar power. The existing duty structure incentivizes imports rather than domestic manufacturing on solar photovoltaic cells and modules. Therefore, I propose to exempt from basic custom duty specified inputs to use in the manufacture of EVA sheets and black sheets, flat copper wires and manufacture of PV ribbons. A concessional basic custom duty of 5% is also being extended to machinery equipment required for setting up of project for solar energy production. To promote wind energy, I propose to reduce basic custom duty from 10% to 5% on forged steel rings used in manufacturing bearings of wind-operated electricity generators. Also, I propose to exempt the SAD of 4% on parts of raw materials required for manufacture of wind-operated generators. Further, I propose to prescribe a concessional basic custom duty of 5% on machinery and equipment required for setting up of compressed biogas plants. I have only highlighted some of the proposals in Budget 2014-15. I am sure these measures would incentivize value, generic income and create more jobs. I have also undertaken several tax rationalization measures. At present, coal attracts a custom duty at different rates. I propose to rationalize these duty structures on all non-agglomerated coal at 2.5% of basic custom duty and 2% CVD. Henceforth, anthracite coal, bituminous coal, coking coal, steam coal and other coal will attract the same duty. This will eliminate all assessment disputes and transactional costs associated with testing of various parameters of coal. Metallurgical coke is manufactured out of coking coal. The basic custom duty on metallurgical coke is being increased from nil to 2.5% in line with the duty of coking coal. Ships imported for breaking up attract basic custom duty at 5%. As against this, melting scrap of iron or steel attracts a basic custom duty of 2.5%. I propose to rationalize the duty on ship breaking scrap and melting scrap of iron and steel by reducing the basic custom duty on ship imported for breaking up from 5% to 2.5%. Semi-processed, half-cut or broken diamonds are at present exempted from basic custom duty. As against this, cut and polished diamonds and colored gemstones attract basic custom duty of 2%. To prevent misuse and avoid assessment disputes, the basic custom duty on semi-processed, half-cut, broken diamonds, cut and polished diamonds and colored gemstones is being rationalized at 2.5%. To encourage exports, pre-forms of precious or semi-precious stones are being fully exempted from basic custom duty. To encourage exports, of ready-made garments, I propose to increase the base duty-free entitlement of import of trimmings, embellishments and other items from 3% to 5% of their value of their exports. Considering the need to conserve our national resources, I propose to increase the export duty on bauxite from 10% to 20%. The free baggage allowance under baggage rules, which was last revised in 2012, as a measure of passenger facilitation, I propose to increase the baggage fare from rupees 35,000 to rupees 45,000. I shall now deal with the excise duties. To provide the fillip to capital goods, consumable durables and automatic sectors and give our commitment to revive economic growth, I have already extended the excise duty concessions beyond 30th June 2014 for a period of 6 months up to 31st December 2014. We expect the industry to show positive results in the coming months. In continuation of this, I have made more proposals to boost domestic production. Minimization of harvest and poor harvest losses of agricultural produces is an important measure for tackling food inflation and ensuring food security. The losses of fruits, vegetables are mainly due to adequate processing capacity. To incentivize expansion of processing capacity, I propose to reduce the excise duty on specified food processing and packaging machinery from 10% to 6%. As a measure of relief to the footwear industry, most of which are SMEs, I propose to reduce excise duties from 12% to 6% on footwear of retail piece exceeding 500 pairs, but not exceeding rupees 500 per pair, but not exceeding rupees 1,000 per pair. Footwear of retail price up to rupees 500 per pair will continue to remain exempted. I propose to withdraw the concessional excise duty, 2% without Senvet benefit and 6% with Senvet benefit on smart cards, which with a levy of uniform excise duty at 12%. Consequently, import will attract a higher CVD and will help domestic industry. To develop renewable sources of energy, I propose to exempt from excise duty EVA sheets and solar black sheets with specified inputs used in manufacture. Solar tempered glass sheets in manufacture of solar photovoltaic cells and durables. Flat copper wires for manufacture of PV ribbons for use in solar cells and modules. Machinery and equipment required for setting up of a project of solar energy production. Forged rings used in the manufacture of bearings for wind-operated generators. Machinery and equipment required for setting up of compressed biogas plants. To set at rest ongoing disputes, I propose to exempt PSF and PFY manufactured from plastic waste and scrap, including PET bottles, from excise duty with effect from 29th June 2010 to 7th May 2012. I propose to levy prospectively a nominal duty of 5% without Senvat to benefit 6% with Senvat benefit on such PSY and PFI. To encourage sports, I propose to prescribe a concessional excise duty of 2% without Senvat benefit and 6% with Senvat benefit on sports gloves. While undertaking these measures, I need to mobilize some resources. Although I propose to increase the specific excise duties on cigarettes in a range of 11% to 72%. Similarly, increases are proposed on cigars, cheroots and cigarillos. Likewise, excise duty is being increased from 12% to 16% on pan masala and 50% to 55% on unmanufactured tobacco, and from 60% to 70% on gutka and chewing tobacco. I also propose to levy an additional duty of excise of 5% on aerated waters containing added sugar. These are healthy measures and I hope everyone would welcome them from the point of view of human rights. Clean
Yes, Mr. Minister.
Clean energy cess is presently levied on coal, peat and lignite for the purposes of financing and promoting clean energy initiatives
Bas.
and funding research in area of clean energy. I propose to expand the scope of purposes of levying the said cess, including financing and promoting clean environment initiatives for funding research in the area of clean environment. To finance these additional initiatives, I propose to increase the clean energy cess from rupees 50 per ton to rupees 100 per ton. I shall now deal with service tax. In recent times, amongst indirect taxes, service tax has shown the highest rate of growth. Since my overall objective is to prepare that indirect tax regime for a smooth transition to goods and services, changes have been kept minimal at this stage. The twin object of this sector of indirect taxes are to widen the tax base and enhance compliance. My proposal in relation to service tax are in line with these objectives. To broaden the tax base in services tax, it is necessary to prune the negative list and in exemptions to the extent possible. Accordingly, the negative list has been reviewed and service tax leviable currently on sale and space of time for advertisements in the broadcast media is being extended to cover such sales on other segments like online and mobile advertising. Sale of space for advertisements on print media would remain excluded from service tax. Similarly, tax is proposed on service provided by radio taxis to place them at par with rent-a-cab service. These new levies will come into effect from the date notified after the passing of the finance bill. In furtherance of the effort to broaden the tax base, certain exemptions are being withdrawn, including those extended to services by air-conditioned contract carriages, technical testing of newly developed drugs on human participants. To spur growth in certain sectors, I have tried to correct the bottlenecks which have been brought to my notice. Indian ship industry has been representing that they are losing business in the tough global scenario due to provision in the place of provision of services rules, which are now being addressed through an amendment. Similarly, to encourage growth in the transportation of goods through coastal vessels, and tax incident is being reduced. In response to the request of the tourism sector, services provided by the Indian tour operators to foreign tourists in relation to tour wholly outside India is being taken out of the tax deck. A long-standing demand of this sector has been to allow Senvet credit for services of rent-a-cab and tour operators. I now propose to allow credit in the same line of business. I had accepted a few requests for exemptions from social sector, since exemptions reduce distortions would be comparatively less in such sectors. At the request of Ministry of Agriculture, service tax on loading, unloading, storage, warehousing, transportation of cotton, whether gind or bale, is being exempted to bring it on par with certain other agricultural products. Services provided under the Employee State Insurance Corporation for the period from 1st July 2012 is being exempted. For the benefit of the common man, the exemptions presently available for specified micro-insurance schemes are being expanded to cover all life micro-insurance schemes where sums assured do not exceed more than 50,000 per life insured. Since taxes should not come in the way of safe disposal of medical and clinical waste, services provided by common biomedical waste treatment facilities are being exempted. Certain changes are also proposed for bringing about a greater clarity for reducing litigation regarding the scope of exemption. These include functions ordinarily entrusted to a municipality and services in relation to education. There are few more decisions which entail small gains and loss of revenue. Certain amendments are being proposed to the Customs Central Excise Acts and in the Finance Act 1994 relating to service tax. These changes are reflected in the budget documents. My tax proposals from indirect taxes size are estimated to yield rupees 7,525 crores additionally. I have some more proposals which are in the nature of facilitating trade and resolving dispute. I shall only highlight a few. Faster clearance of import and export cargo reduces transaction costs and improves business competitiveness. To achieve this object, measures are being initiated to extend the existing 24/7 custom facility to 13 more airports in respect of all export goods and to 14 more seaports in respect of specified import and export. It is also proposed to implement the Indian Custom Single Window project to facilitate trade. Under this, importers and exporters would lodge their clearances documents at a simple point only. Required permissions, if any, from other regulatory agencies would be obtained online without the trader having to approach these agencies. This would introduce interface with governmental agencies, dwell time and cost of doing business. The scheme of advance ruling in indirect tax is being expanded to cover resident private companies. This will allow companies to seek advance rulings in respect of new activities being proposed to be undertaken. The scope of the Settlement Commission is being enlarged to facilitate quick dispute proposal. To expedite these processes and dispose of appeals, amendments have been proposed to the Customs Central Excise Act and with a view of freeing appellate authorities from hearing stay applications and take up regular appeals for final disposal. Madam Speaker, with these words, I commend the bill to this House for a vote.
Item number 2. Item number 2.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table.
Yes. No, no. Yes. Nothing. Yes. You can speak on this. Yes. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I wish to lay on the table the following statement under the Section 3(1) of the Fiscal Responsibilities and Budget Management Act 2003. Microeconomics Framework Statement, Medium Policy Fiscal Policy Statement, and Fiscal Policy Strategy Statement.
Yes. Now bill to be introduced.
Madam Speaker, I wish to move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2014.
The question is that the leave to be granted to introduce finance bill. Those in favor may say aye. Those against may say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The leave is granted.
Madam, I wish to introduce the bill. Very good.
The House stands adjourned to meet again tomorrow, the 11th July 2014 at 11 a.m. Thank you.